Okay, my group consists of Kalicia, Jesse, Ben, and me, and we're here to teach 5 geometry topics and make them easy to learn using the chalkboard behind me. Ta-da! Okay, first thing we're going to talk about is the surface area of cylinders and prisms.
For prisms, the surface area equation is pH plus 2b. P equals the perimeter of the bases, H equals the height, the length between the bases, and B is the area of one base.
Make it a bigger cube. Ooh.
Chalkboard.
Okay.
Jesse, you can't even see the 8. Move out of the way.
Looking at this cube, we know the height is 8 and the perimeter is 24. We multiply the height by the perimeter and get 192. We then have to find the area of one base, which is 32. You then multiply the area and add it into the equation. You should get 192 plus 64, which equals 256 inches squared, or whatever your measurement is. Die!
Next is in cylinder. The equation for the surface area of a cylinder is 2 pi RH plus 2 pi R squared. R is the radius, H is the height. And also remember, some questions will ask to keep in terms of pi, so don't multiply it if it says that. An example problem is this. See, that's the Illuminati.
No. So the radius is 4 and the height is 8, which in terms of pi is 64 pi. You take that sum and add in the other part of the equation, which is, when doing the math, equates to 32 pi. So when adding it, you get 96 pi. Okay. Next is the surface area of pyramids and cones. Starting with pyramids, the surface area equation is 1/2 pi slant height plus b, with b being the base area and p being the perimeter of the base.
The dashed line that Jesse is pointing to is the slant height. You can get the slant height by using the real height and half the base length and use Pythagorean theorem. So in the example problem, the height is 5 and the length is 10, which you have to split in order to form the right triangle. First, you do a square root of 5 squared plus 5 squared equals 7.07, sorry. Now you find the perimeter of the base, which is 10 plus 10 plus 10 plus 10, which equals 40. Next, multiply 40 and 7.07 and then multiply by 0.5. And you get 141.4. Next, add the base area, which is 100, and you'll get 241.4 as your surface area.
Now, onto the cone, the equation is pi r slant height plus pi r squared. To get the slant height of a cone, it's the same as a pyramid, to where you do Pythagorean theorem. In this example problem, the radius is 3 and the height is 4, making this right triangle. Okay.
You're spilling it!
When you do the square root of 3 squared plus 4 squared, it gives you the slant height of 5. And when you do the math, you should get 15 pi plus 9 pi, giving you the surface area of 24 pi. So for this portion of the vid, I'm going to teach you how to find the area of regular polygons. So yeah. So in this polygon, it has an indicated side of 152. And the first thing I do is I find the interior angles. And it's super easy. All you have to do is n minus 2 times 180 divided by n, with n being the number of sides. So with an octagon, it would be 6 times 180 divided by 8, which gives you 135. And I do 135 divided by 2, and it gives me, I think, 67.5. And that's what you have to use when doing the right triangle, which helps you find the apothem. So I label it. Now, next, you have to do trigonometry to find the apothem. So I indicate what's opposite and what's adjacent to the indicated angle. And I find that we don't have to use the hypotenuse, which means we're using TOA, which is tangent. and tangent is opposite over adjacent. So the equation would be tan times 67.5 equals O over 76, but you have to get O by itself to multiply 76 by tan of 67.5. And when you do that, you get 183.48 as your apothem. Next, you have to do apothem times perimeter divided by 2 to get your area. So we already know the apothem, so all we have to do is find the perimeter, which is 152 times 8. And I get 1,216. So now all you have to do is 1,216 times 183.48. And then from there. What we're going to talk about next is segment relationships in circles, in which there are 4 of them. There's chord, which is piece times piece equals piece times piece. Next, there's tangent tangent, in which there are 2 lines that don't go inside the circle, they only touch the outer layer of the circle. Next, there's secant tangent, in which only 1 line goes inside the circle and the other one only touches the outside. And then the other one is secant secant, in which both lines go inside the circle. Starting off with chord, you would do piece times piece equals piece times piece. So in the example problem we have, there's 5 and 12 that are on the same line. So that'll be 5 times 12 equals 6 times x, which is just 6x.
I broke it again.
So when you solve this, you would just do 12 times 5 equals 6x, which equals 60, which makes it 60 equals 6x. And when doing basic algebra, you should get x equals 10. So when doing secant secant, you do whole times out equals whole times out. And what you should get for this example problem, you should get 8z times 8 equals 81 times 9. And then when doing the math, you should get 64z equals 729. And when dividing 729 by 64, you should get the answer 11.39. Next is secant tangent, which is whole times out equals tangent squared. In which in this example problem, it would be 6y times 6 equals 9 squared, which is 81. And when doing basic math, you should get 36y equals 81. And then when you divide. And lastly, there's tangent tangent, in which it's just tangent equals tangent. And so in this example problem, it would be 40 equals 3x plus 4. And when doing basic math, you should subtract the 4 to get the variable by itself, which would do 3x equals 36. And when dividing, you should get 12 equals x. And that's it for circles. So I'm back, and I'm just going to talk about regular polygons really quick. And by the way, when I kicked that Cheez-It box, it landed upright. I just thought you had to know that. Anyways, talking about regular polygons, for starters, regular polygons have equal sides and equal angles, meaning a triangle which has 3 sides will have 3 angles, and a square which has 4 sides will have 4 angles. And the triangle sum theorem is basically for every triangle inside the polygon is 180. So, for instance, a triangle is 3 minus 2, which equals 1, and that's 180. And a square would be 4 minus 2 equals 2, because there's 2 triangles inside of the square. And to find that, how many triangles are inside a polygon, all you have to do is n minus 2, with n being the number of sides. So to find the interior angles, which is what I'm circling, all you have to do is n minus 2 times 180 divided by n. And to find the exterior angles, all you have to do is 360 divided by n. And you can use that to help you find the sum of interior angles or exterior angles. And that's pretty much it. I wasn't lying, by the way. This is literally how it landed.
I drew a prism.